If you've done everything right, you show up, you work hard, you pay your bills, and you still feel behind on money, I want to show you one number. Two Canadians who look identical on paper, same age, same income, can end up about $1.4 million apart by the time they've reached retirement. Same effort, and the difference usually isn't discipline. It's one thing almost nobody ever points you to. I'm going to. Quick note before we start. This is general financial education, not advice tailored to you. And I will never tell you the specific investments to buy. For guidance on your own situation, talk to a professional. And on debt, tax, and planning, that can be me. I'm Tony, a CPA and MBA with years of real client work behind me. I'm glad you're here. Here's what I want to do in the next few minutes. I want to show you why the whole Canadians are bad with money story is mostly pointed at the wrong thing. And more than that, I want you to walk away knowing exactly what to set up. So the same thing that quietly built wealth for other people starts working for you too. This isn't a video about what went wrong. It's about the one lever you actually hold. And if that 1.4 million number made you sit up a little, do me a favor and hit like. It helps reach other people carrying the same feeling. Thank you. You've heard it 100 times, right? Nobody saves. Canadians are terrible with money. People just spend everything. And if you're someone who's tried, who's worked hard and still doesn't have much set aside, that one stings. It lands like it's about you. And there's this quiet feeling that comes with it. Like everyone else got handed a manual you never saw. And if you'd just been a little more disciplined, you'd be further along by now. So here's what that headline is doing. It takes everyone, the person with a solid workplace pension and the person who was never offered a thing, and it blends them into one ugly number. Then it hands you the result and calls it the character flaw. Look at who actually has a pension at work. In the public sector, teachers, nurses, government, about 87% of workers are covered. In the private sector, it's around 20%. And even when you group in RRSPs and the other workplace saving plans, private coverage only climbs to about 37%. That still leaves about 9 million Canadian employees with nothing at work at all. The thing splitting these two groups apart is whether a plan ever showed up at their job. So stay with me because the second half of this video is what to do when you don't have a workplace pension plan. And it's more enriched than you think. If this is the kind of thing you want explained plainly with the real Canadian numbers and no hype, subscribe. That's what I do here every week. Think about averaging the temperature of your freezer and your oven. On paper, the math says room temperature. In real life, one is frozen solid and the other could cook your dinner. That's exactly what the scary savings headline does. Pull the two groups apart and the picture changes completely. Of the Canadians with no workplace plan, about half have saved nothing for retirement. Among the people who do have a plan, the number drops way down. A lot of people genuinely don't have much put away, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. What's wrong is the story we tell about why the number is low, that it's because people can't control themselves. Pull the groups apart and you can see it was mostly about access the whole time. Let me give you two people. Same age, same income, both work just as hard. Let's call the first one Andrea. Andrea takes a job at a mid-sized company. There's a group plan. Our contributions come straight off her paycheck before she ever sees the money. And the company matches the first few percent. She picks an option once and pretty much forgets about it. The second person, Jordan, strings together small business and contract work. Good money, works hard, but no plan is ever put in front of him. If he wants to save, he has to open the account himself, choose the investments himself, set up transfers himself, on top of everything else going on in his life. Same money coming in, same work ethic. 30 years later, who's ahead? And was it really because one of them tried harder? In fact, Jordan might have been trying harder. You know those moving sidewalks at the airport? Andrea is standing on one. She's still walking, she's still putting in her own money, but the floor is carrying her forward at the same time. Jordan is walking the bare floor right beside her, working just as hard, or like I said, working even harder, and watching Andrea pull away. And there are really three things that move that floor. The money comes out automatically before she can spend it. It's a payroll deduction, so it never feels like a decision she has to win every month. And the match is the extra on top. On the first few percent, every dollar she puts in, our employer drops in $1 too. That's not some clever investment. That's a raise she only gets because she's standing on the moving sidewalk. So here's the part I really want you to get. Andrea didn't out-discipline Jordan. The floor was moving under her feet and standing still under Jordan's feet. We looked at the finish line, saw the gap, and called it willpower. Now, here's where Canada is different, and it matters. Down in the United States, most workplace plans sign you up automatically. You're in unless you opt out. The floor moves for you by default. Here, the most common option in the private sector is a group RRSP, and most of the time it's opt-in. You have to choose to step on. And I've spoken with a number of people who, for some reason, decide not to step on or are not even aware of the options. There are a couple of exceptions, though. Federal pooled plans and Quebec's VRSP, where past a certain size, the employer has to enroll people by default. But for most of us, nobody is quietly stepping us onto that sidewalk. So Andrea ends up way ahead. She got lucky a decent plan existed. Jordan never got the invitation. And here's the flip side, the good part. If the system isn't going to enroll you automatically, then you get to be the one who does it. You become your own automatic enrollment. That's what the rest of this video is about. So if you've been carrying around the idea that you're just bad with money, I'd like you to put it down. You were handed a harder version of the game and then blamed for the score. And I'm not telling you that so you feel off the hook. I'm telling you so you stop spending energy on guilt and start spending it on the one thing that actually changes your number. Here's what I'm most sure of after years of looking at real people's actual numbers, not the highlight reel they post online. The people gliding ahead of you mostly aren't more disciplined than you are. They were standing on a moving sidewalk you couldn't see. And now that you can see it, here's the part that's fully yours. That same machine, the money moving automatically before you can touch it, you can build it for yourself. Nobody has to hand it to you. And if a calm, steady voice on this kind of thing would help, I write one short letter every Sunday. One idea, no hype. You can find it at cpamoneymentor.com/moneyletter, or just click the link in the description. So, how do you build your own sidewalk? You become your own automatic enrollment. Here's how, in order. First, if there's any match at work, take all of it. Every dollar. It's the closest thing to free money you will ever be handed. So you start there before anything else. Second, if no plan is offered, you can build the flow yourself. Set up an automatic transfer on payday so the money moves before you can feel it leave. That one setup replaces the willpower the airlines keep blaming you for. It's the lever I mentioned at the start, and it takes about 15 minutes. Third, match the account to the goal. And these are categories, not me telling you what to buy. An RRSP for long-term retirement money with a tax deduction now. A TFSA for flexible tax-free growth. An FHSA if a first home is the goal. And fourth, then mostly leave it alone. The sidewalk only works if you stay on it. Automatic, hands off. You don't need a pension to show up at your door. You don't need a windfall, and you don't need more willpower. You need one automatic transfer set up once. That's a thing you can do, and it works whether or not anyone ever hands you a pension plan. So next time anyone tells you Canadians are bad with money, you know what it left out. The gap was mostly about who got put on the sidewalk and who didn't. And the good news is you can step onto your own. You walk, you let it carry you, and you stop blaming yourself for a floor that was never moving. Time to build the sidewalk. Now that you know access is what drives this gap, you probably want to know where you actually stand. I broke down net worth by age in Canada and what the average really drives right here. Watch that next. Thank you for watching.